Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Jen Wilson here with Convergence Coaching, and I'm with my good friend, Amy Vetter. Hey, Amy.
Hello. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We're a little late because I was getting some counseling from Amy. if we're honest, Amy was talking me down a little, which is helpful sometimes to have friends that will do that for you, and always it's helpful. And so I appreciate Amy for that. And so we were talking a little bit about, about the idea that when you wonder about big things in your life, like the election, let's say, I'll pick the election, and I'm not sitting around, biting my nails about the election per se. And I avoid news pushed to me. So that helps me not like fixate on it. But big macro issues in your life. Maybe you work at a company and you're worried about certain things. There's a leadership change happening and you're worried about it, or whatever it is, things that you feel like are way beyond your control. And so, you could sit around and feel sort of worried, anxious, hopeless, cynical. There's all these things that come up that could stop you. Like you could spend time with those feelings. And instead of doing that, Amy and I wanted to talk about today, kind of living from what can I control? What can I do here? How can I be 100% responsible and get in action in the places I can make a difference, instead of fixating on the places, on the big stuff sometimes that I can't touch. And so that's what we thought we'd talk about. How can I get in action when I'm worried about something big?
Well, ultimately, in order to be successful on any initiative and any company, it takes a group, right? Usually it can't be one person that is the one creating success. It might be the person with vision. It might be the person that spearheads the discussion. But in order to get buy-in, in order to get movement, you have to work through a group. And every group dynamic is each person comes with their own perspective and thoughts and background and influence. And so we're not going to be able to control another person's thought, another person's, we can try to influence as much as we can. But I think a lot of stress happens over the fact that we want someone to think just like us or have the outcome that we absolutely want that's just ours. So it's important that we figure out for ourselves what we can control and what we can't control. And the things that we can control, those are the things we can better focus on than allowing ourselves to get too stressed out about the overarching big dynamic, the issues we're facing ahead of us. And, a lot of us just don't take a step back and think about the things that we can control and make a list of those so that we can take the actions that are going to help create more fulfillment in something where we're not constantly stressed out or talking against something or, because we're frustrated, where we can actually take action. And so a start to that for most of us is, like Jen said, what is our 100% responsibility? But the action is what can I control?
Yeah. What can I do? Well, and it's really interesting because I'm getting ready to go next week and spend a day and a half with up and coming future leaders in the profession at a leadership program workshop that talks all about this idea. And normally I don't get to teach it. I've been kind of shielded from teaching this super fun, spend time with cool people workshop because my team is like, you you need to work on other stuff, So I pulled a lucky card and I'm going to Nashville and hang out with these people next week. And I know one of the things we'll talk about is it's natural when you're trying to figure out how to be a better leader to process the problems and the roadblocks and the things you encounter, and to try to sort of say, well, I can't do that because of this, and to find these sort of bigger barriers. And so, and we always talk to them about like, hey, okay, so you can't force the entire firm to go through a process of firing clients. So we could, increase capacity and make some room going into the fall busy season or going into 25. So maybe you don't have the influence yet to cause that, but can you evaluate the clients for the projects you're working on? Could you set a criteria of what would be used to evaluate a client? Could you define the ideal target client if it's not defined in writing? Could you make some, do your own client analysis? Could you make some recommendations? Could you meet with a few partners or leaders and share what you're doing and trying? See if you could get enrollment or buy-in. Perhaps you could get permission even from the clients you identify that you work on that are not ideal, that we need to make changes, whether it's fee changes or whether they need to be let go, or whether we need to shift the scope or, have a behavior conversation or whatever it is. Could you initiate that, instead of sitting back and waiting for, my firm will never do it. And, as an example, that's just one example of a way I could get busy doing something to try to drive the change I really know needs to happen, instead of just sort of being upset that it's not.
Yeah. Or throwing up your hands. I see that a lot, as well, that, things will never change or no one's listening to me or this or that. And one of the things that's been interesting in a lot of coaching I've done on this lately has been, we have, and I don't know if it's COVID. I hate to blame things on COVID, but there is a resistance to just getting to know people casually. So when we are going to deal with hard conversations, it's better to deal with hard conversations with someone we personally can create a bond with, versus when we're just going in saying, this is what I want. And this is the things that I want to change. And relationships, like, again, something I can control is if there's certain people that maybe are blocking me or getting in the way of a decision that I would like made, how can I approach this in a different way? How can I get to know a person and care about what their life is like? So the thing is that most of us have the perspective just from our shoes. And when we go in to say we want to change, how is that person on the other side receiving it? They're probably receiving it of like, I can't even listen to this right now. I'm overworked. I've got too many things on my plate. This is just not happening. Instead of, if we had worked on, why don't we go to lunch, have a get to know each other, understand each other in a different way that doesn't necessarily always have to have a business outcome. But then when it's time for things that are important from a business perspective, we have a better way to approach it, just knowing what that person's outside circumstances are, what are the pressures that they're dealing with that maybe we weren't even aware of. So when we approach it, we are also coming up with solutions to be able to help that person, not just add more work to their plate.
Yeah. Well, and that's critical. I was just thinking about the idea. It's a really, really old saying. And I don't remember which president said it, but it's pass the buck. It might be Harry Truman. It might be a Harry Trumanism. But the idea of like, I'm going to come and dump my problem in your lap and not suggest solutions and not be part of offering help. Problem pointer outer, like seriously, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's easy.
Yeah.
That's like the easiest job in the world, problem pointer outer. So, generating solutions, and we're not always hopeful enough to generate solutions. And so just recognizing that, like, I am not hopeful enough to generate solutions. Sometimes I try to say to myself, and therefore I am not hopeful enough to talk about this yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I need to go for a run. Maybe I need to, get a good night's sleep tonight. Maybe I need to go to yoga. Maybe I need to do something else and get a little more centered mentally, so I could have a little hope, so I could begin to generate solutions. And if I can't generate solutions, another way of managing the upset or the, I don't know, cynicism or the disappointment or the frustration, whatever it is to just express it to someone else and ask for their help in generating solutions. Instead of like, I'm coming to complain to you. Because like, one thing is, Amy and I are pretty good friends. We've been hanging for a while now. And so I can go to her and start, complaining. And she could get in there with me and be like, I know. And because that's what friends do. Good friends sometimes get right in there with you. And that's awesome. That's called, empathy and compassion and shared experience. And there's a benefit to that, man. I love it. But it doesn't get you out of your spot. And it doesn't drive change to the situation. So that's the part that you have to like personally say, okay, now I'm just dragging Amy into the problem. Now she and I are both going to leave kind of cynical and sad. And so maybe sometimes I talk to somebody and say, just tell me what you would do if you were me. I might not do any of it, but just generate some solutions with me, because I'm really not coming for validation of my complaint. I'm coming to get moved out of my rut, the spot that I'm in right now called hopeless complaining. And then I could possibly go to that place you were just talking about, which is go to somebody and say, here's the issue, and here are some ideas, and here's how I could help. And I don't think there's anything more powerful than somebody offering to take the action while they're pointing out the problem.
Yeah. I think there's a number of uses of, someone else to help you work out the problem. One is, flat out just to get it out of your system so that you're not getting it out in the wrong place. And that's just a natural human experience. The other is like, if you are going to create an action, so if you step back and say, what is it that I want to do about this? What can I control? I think it's important to get other people's feedback on the action that you're suggesting. I think a lot of times we go in without ever testing the idea with anybody else or getting other people's feedback to say, oh, this person thought this and this person thought that. And now the three of us have come up with, this solution and action, and this is how we'll help you to get there. To have that complete plan, and also to have vetted something out to make sure it doesn't sound like complaining. One of the things that happens a lot when people are trying to go through a process like this is because when you're frustrated, the presentation can come off as complaining versus actionable and objective, right? Like that you have no skin in the game, you're there to help. And then I think another support area that gets ignored a lot are the HR teams and people teams that are there to help support conversations like this. So if you want to have a conversation and you're a leader, you're going someone above you to have a conversation, I think it's really important to go to your people team. This is why they are there, to say, can I test this conversation with you? they know everyone in the organization, how they tick. They also probably know personal things about people that they're not going to tell you the personal things, but they are going to tell you maybe how to approach something better than maybe you thought to approach it, or how to make it more constructive. These resources that are in organizations are sometimes ignored or just thought to be one thing, and can be so helpful when you are trying to get an action across the table, to make sure that you've vetted out. And they might also have suggestions of other people you should talk to as well. I think, what I see a lot in organizations is there are mentorship programs, and you can go to your mentor as well, which is a helpful place to go. But again, just like not wanting to take the time to go to lunch with someone or get to know someone personally, a lot of times we don't want to take the time to find our own mentors. So
Right.
one's assigned to you, but then what are the type of personalities and experience that you need in your life to be a mentor? And you seek out those mentors that can help you in your job as well.
Yeah. Well, and or even recognizing a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't recognize a mentor. I like where you are with seeking out mentors. And occasionally in my life, I'll meet someone at a conference or something, and they'll say, "Hey, can I follow up with you? I don't need you to be like my career advisor or something, but I have some stuff going on with me that I'm wondering about at my work, and I don't know who to talk to about it. And because you know firms, and because you don't have a dog in the race, I feel like I could ask you, and you would give me your opinion, and
Mm-hmm.
and so that's just, I'm always impressed with anybody who has that courage to do that, um, to ask for help from somebody they don't know well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, but also to acknowledge and recognize that there are mentors right now in your life that you might not be utilizing fully, or potential mentors right under your nose, right inside your firm, or inside other communities that you belong to, that would happily seek out or participate in that kind of a relationship with you. They'd be happy to be that sounding board. And I guess one of the things to think about is it constructive? I think that's probably, I'm trying to sort a whole bunch of stuff, and it's not just all work related. And, I'm trying to be constructive. That's what I'm trying to be right now while I'm figuring it out. And, just trying to navigate it with as much positivity as is possible, even though there's some things that are irritating or concerning, just whatever it is. And so, I think that's, the finding mentors who are going to uphold and hold you accountable for constructive and positive,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just commiserating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just remember, I think we forget because the day gets so busy, and we're talking about hard stuff all the time of things that have to get done, is we forget each person is human. And most of us are sharing the same experience internally, except no one can see it from the outside. And when we are more transparent and open about what's going on with us, then we end up seeing we're not alone. And I think a lot of times we feel alone, which then when we feel alone, that causes us to isolate ourselves. And that causes us to go down the path of negative thinking. And it is important to seek your pack, to seek the people that you can go to, whether it's to get things off your chest or to be constructive. And who are the different people available to you in different roles that maybe you haven't thought of. And like Jen said, they don't even have to be in the same organization. It can
At all.
just be someone that you're just curious about their path and how they got there, and or overcame similar things that you want to know if something that you're working on right now is normal. of
Yes.
what you're struggling with. So just remember, this is the human condition, and try to take a couple actions, step back of what you can control, what you can't control, and then who can you create as support to be able to test your ideas, test your initiatives, and to be able to get that safe, constructive feedback so you can be successful.
Yeah, I love all that. Great summary, Amy. Thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah, thanks everybody for allowing us to process our thoughts and ideas on leadership in our work and in our profession. We love that, and in our lives too. It's all of the above. So thank you for that. If you ever have any thoughts on this, you're welcome to reach to us in social or directly to our emails. Also, any thoughts on other subjects you want to make sure we cover in a future leadership lunch chat, let us know. Caroline, I'm going to look at your face real quick and say, are we on next week? What's our story? She says she doesn't think so. So we have a hiatus coming, and then we'll be back, and we'll be sure to post in social the date of our next event. So looking forward to seeing you all. And thanks again, Amy and Caroline. Good to see you. Have a great weekend. Bye now.
We are on next week.
Oh, whoops.
Okay.
Okay.
No hiatus yet. Yeah.
Amy comes in. So we are on next Friday. We'll see you then. Bye, y'all.
Bye.